Profiles in Cinemania, Duncan Jones. Childhood nicknames are great. They're the common ones like Sport, Precious, Kiddo, Champ, Sweetie Pie, etc. Then there are the cool and weird ones like Snot Goblin, Crotch Fruit, Booger Face, or my own kid who insisted for a year and a half that her name was Wonder Woman. Hell, my own dad called me Panza de Chivo for a good chunk of my childhood. Yeah, he was a weird one. I mean, at least he eventually shortened it to just Panza. But in the history of nicknames, no one's childhood moniker compares to the name that Angela and David Jones gave their son, Zoe Bowie. Okay, so technically his full name is Duncan Zoe Haywood Jones, but after his birth in 1971, his parents, better known as Angie and David Bowie, introduced him to the world as Zoe Bowie. He got tired of the name Zoe pretty quickly and tried going by Joey, then Joe, but by the time he was a teenager, he'd settled on simply using his first name, Duncan. After his parents' divorce in 1980, David Bowie had full custody of Duncan, and he's been mostly estranged from Angela since his teens. You have to wonder what was going on that no one challenged the plan that the rock star who moved to Berlin so he could kick his coke habit while hanging out with Iggy Pop should have sole custody. Apparently, Angie thought that having full custody would force David to kick his drug habit? But he gets past his prologue, am I right?
Fuck no!
Growing up with a rock star for a dad and later a supermodel for a stepmom must have been quite the childhood. But Duncan emerged surprisingly down to earth and mostly unscathed. Mostly. Though I'm certain being on the set of Labyrinth in 1985 must have been interesting.
Not to mention, forever after getting to hear the whole world talk about his dad's bulging Goblin King codpiece.
As a child, he had a close relationship with his loving nanny Marion Skeen and went to boarding schools in Switzerland and Scotland. He later attended the College of Worcester in Ohio, where he studied philosophy and wrote a study thesis titled How to Kill Your Computer Friend, an investigation of the mind-body problem and how it relates to the hypothetical creation of a thinking machine. Okay, that title had everything except spiders from Mars. He started a PhD in philosophy at Vanderbilt, but left before finishing and instead enrolled at the London International Film School, where he graduated in 2001, at nearly 30 years old. This wasn't a surprising move, though, given that he had been on his father's film sets since childhood. As a teenager, he was given small jobs behind the scenes and more serious jobs as he got older. When his father reunited with Tony Scott to film the TV series for The Hunger in 1997, Duncan was given the opportunity to work as a camera operator for 2 weeks, and this behind-the-scenes experience was his turning point. He abandoned his PhD, went straight to film school, and never looked back. He took a long time to find his calling, but screenwriting and directing proved to be the right move for him. He described screenwriting in an interview once saying, "People think that writing scripts is like writing books, but it really isn't. It's more like drawing up architectural plans for picky clients. If they're paying for it, you're finding a way for your artistry to serve what they need, including making tweaks for their budget." Duncan's directorial debut was the video for his father's concert at Roseland Ballroom in 2000, which might have had a whiff of nepotism about it, but it's not like he beat out a bunch of others who were champing at the bit for a chance at directing a concert video. Following the advice of Tony Scott, Duncan cut his teeth in the advertising industry for a while working on campaigns for French Connection UK and others. In 2002, he wrote and directed a short film called Whistle about a high-tech hitman. He stuck with the sci-fi genre for 2009's Moon, his first feature film, which he also wrote and directed. After that, he went on to direct the deceptively intellectual sci-fi action movie Source Code in 2011. All the attention from those successes led to the offer to co-write and direct a major studio film in 2016. Unfortunately, that film was Warcraft. The experience left him, in his own words, beaten and bruised, even before it was panned by critics. The whole circus of changing studios multiple times during production can't have been easy. Even though it was deemed a bomb by the public, Warcraft was still the first movie based on a video game to break $400 million at the box office, so he must have been doing something right. The famously picky fans of the game even liked it, and gamers make a point of never liking anything. The next film he co-wrote and directed was 2018's Mute, which is set in the same cinematic universe as Moon. His current project, Rogue Trooper, doesn't have a release date yet, but it's based on the legendary British sci-fi comic series 2000 AD and reunites him with Matt Berry, who was also in Moon. Sci-fi has proven to be Jones's sweet spot. Moon was nominated for 13 different awards and won 9 of them, including a BAFTA for Outstanding Debut by a British Writer, Director, or Producer, and a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation Long Form. He has plans for a third film in the same universe as Moon and Newt. He sees the trilogy of stories not as sequels or prequels to each other, but, in his own words, quote, basically Moon and Newt, and there's a third one. I want to make kind of an anthology in that they take place within the same universe, but the stories don't directly inform each other. They're more sidequels, I guess you'd call them, but the themes are kind of similar, and it's about autonomy and about parenting, end quote. We can't wait to see what cinemania these upcoming films will induce. Unlike his mother, who still goes by Angie Bowie, Duncan made the conscious decision not to use his father's famous stage name. In a field where nepotism is rampant, this is a refreshing change. Apparently, it's not uncommon for people to know him for years before finding out who his father is. Take a moment to think about how that conversation must go. When you finally tell your buddies that while your dad is from Bromley, he isn't an accountant like everyone else from a town with such a boring name. He is in fact chameleon rock god David Bowie. Duncan readily admits that using the Bowie name would have gained him many privileges, but he knew they would have been unearned and his art would have suffered for it. In his own words, quote, if I'd been wielding my name around like a club, I could have made my first feature in my mid-20s, but I would have been a poor man for it, and I think the film would have suffered as well. I wouldn't have been the person I am now, so I'm more than happy to have lost those 10 years to a life of human experience rather than just jumping the queue, end quote. It took him a decade to get Moon made, and in that decade he grew, learned, and became the person he felt he was meant to be, with the career he was meant to have. It's clear that his father was behind him the whole way. When he finally finished Moon and showed it to his father, Duncan knew that he would love it no matter what. It's just the kind of dad he was. His dad had been waiting patiently all those years for him to find his calling. If you doubt any of this, just read the lyrics to Kooks, the song inspired by Duncan's birth. It was so clearly written by a first-time parent in awe of this brand new life and eager to support all of their potential, and the support never waned. Just 6 months after his father's death in 2016, Duncan became a father himself. He and his wife, photographer Radine Ronquillo, welcomed a son who they named Stenton David Jones. Less than 2 years later, the pair announced the birth of their second child, a daughter named, wait for it, Zoe Tala Mabsy Jones. According to Duncan, it was, quote, about time someone made use of my middle name, even if I wasn't ready to, end quote. Proof that he didn't hate the name his parents chose. It just wasn't right for him. Only time will tell what names his children choose to use or how they will use them, but one thing's for sure, they'll never be as cool as Zoe Bowie. This has been another Profile in Cinemania. This episode was written and performed by Hope Bravo. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio.